Welcome back, crew, or if you're new to the crew, Just Say Gaming here, and today we're going to be going over a Law deck profile, and we're going to take things a little bit different than typically. Instead, my friend who actually participated in the Miami Treasure Cup, who got top 64, he ran Law, and I decided to just go ahead and interview him and have him explain the deck profile in itself, as well as kind of like the experience with going to a different treasure cup than the one that me and him went to, just so people get a better understanding as far as how in-person events are, and just kind of the environment that it goes for people who are maybe first timers or have played other card tournaments and are kind of on the fence about going to in-person one-piece ones. Before getting into the Law deck profile and everything that it is, I do want to go ahead and remind y'all about a giveaway that I announced in my last deck profile of the Kaido film structure deck. And if you are interested in winning one of these, then go ahead and let me know down in that video's comment section what your favorite film Kaido card is, or just in general what you like or dislike about the deck profile in itself, and be subscribed to the channel and you have a chance of winning that if you are interested. On that note, if you do find this video helpful in any way possible, then like, share, and subscribe, and pass on the knowledge to somebody else who may be interested in running Law or wants to see the ways to outlaw. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Alright, so we're here with a top 64 contender in the Miami Treasure Cup. So can you go ahead and tell us your name and what you ran?
My name's Charlie Fassbender. I ran Aggro Law, and I ended up 58th place, which I was happy with.
So obviously you performed really well and everything like that. How do you feel as though your thought process was as far as how the venue ran and everything like that? Do you feel like with how the event ran and the smoothness of it, do you feel like that affected your gameplay style in any way? It seems like something that's very off, but I think it's something that should be talked about.
Yeah, definitely. I thought the event itself was run very well. I thought that they had enough staff. That's a lot of times. Sometimes it gets a little rough. The one thing that was a little annoying was they definitely tried to kick, once you finished your round, they tried to kick people out of the play area, which I get, I understand, but it's one of those things where I don't really like. I feel like the players should be able to stay, but how much room they have is definitely a consideration to take into that. But what questions I did have throughout the tournament were answered quickly and with all the information I needed. So it was. I thought it went well. It was very nice that it was a convention hall that was connected to the hotel we were in. That was super nice. We didn't even, I mean, we went outside because it was Miami. It was very nice weather, but we didn't have to if we didn't want to.
Nice. So with that, you said you're playing a aggro heavy Law profile. What do you feel as though is the difference, and why didn't you play, I guess, the tempo control variant?
Whenever I see a Law list, the difference that the biggest difference is always Kid. If you're playing 8-drop Kid, I consider that to be a control variant. There's definitely some other switch ups, some other changes to the deck, but the question is, do you play 8-drop Kid or do you not? I chose not to. I felt that this version of the deck, you have so much to do with your Dawn at all times that the 8-drop just kind of bogs you down. It eats up a full turn, and there's a lot of times where it's not really the best because they have an immediate answer to it. You're playing it against red. A lot of times you don't want to play it against red. I actually think that if you are playing the control variant, you activate Bonnie and you see that Kid, you send it right to the bottom. There's not enough true targets for Jet Pistol in this deck to really kind of take that risk. Because if they're like, okay, Otama Jet Pistol, I still have 5 Dawn and use the entirety of your turn to establish this, it's not good. That is definitely bad. But the weird stuff is a lot of times I see a lot of the control variants not playing Killer Blocker, which is weird to me, but also a lot of the guy who got second, he was playing the control variant, and he said, no, I don't want the killer at all. And in this deck, I actually want it quite badly. I think that the Killer Blocker allows you to have that just a little bit more defense that you can aggress. you can turn the rest of your stuff sideways once you've established. Having those extra couple blockers, I think, is pretty important to this deck, because you really don't want your characters to die. That's very much not what we want.
So with you touched on the matchups that you primarily don't want to see is if you're running the control variant, running the 8-drop kit and everything like that. But can you go ahead and go over what were your matchups throughout the entirety of the event, and what was your thought process and I guess your least favorable matchups?
So the matchups that I focused on in testing, blue Jofi, green Kid, the Mirror, Kaido, and then a little bit Zoro, excuse me, definitely Zoro. And I feel like the Zoro and Luffy decks, the way that you play against them are there's some differences, but it's very similar. The least favorable matchup, definitely Kaido. They go Island King. It's a problem, very much an issue. But the most difficult thought process matchup is definitely Zoro. You got to think way more when you're playing Zoro, and it's way closer to 50-50. I feel like it's a little bit more in my advantage than theirs. A lot of people argue against that, but that's how I feel. But against the Kid matchup, against the Kaido matchup, it's like, well, if they got it, they got it. There's not much I can do. I kind of got to ignore 15 cards in their deck and just hope to get there. That being said, you can play around a lot of stuff. It's just very, very difficult to kind of ignore your own plan to that extent. I feel like just aggressing and being strong on board into their leader is just a little bit better, percentage-wise. Than trying to play around, oh, I only have one 3-drop in play, no 1-drops, so their king is kind of bad. You can definitely play around 10-drop Kaido by having searchers in your hand, by having ways to block their thing after they pass their turn, stuff like that. You can definitely play around that. 10-drop king is good, but it's not the problem in the matchup. 10-drop Kaido is good. It's not the problem in the matchup. The problem in the matchup is just the stupid who's who that kills your thing, the king that kills 2 of your things, the king that everything does what you don't want it to do. Like I said, you don't want them to kill your guys. And that's very much what that deck just kind of does. The green matchup, the Kid matchup, I think is very much in my favor. I made a couple deck choices to tilt a little bit more towards being positive in the green matchup, but I think just in general, your matchup against green is good. This deck is kind of built to prey on the green decks, and they're based on how I ended up doing in Miami and my matchups. Definitely, I feel like I was correct in that thought process. The matchups that I played Mono Red Zoro, which was a loss. That was a heartbreaker. I played Kid. I played the Mirror, Kid, Luffy, the Mirror. So I played a ton of the Mirror match, which I ended up going X and 2 against the Mirror, which is kind of sad, but that's all right. I was definitely positive in that. So I ended up going 6 and 3. I lost round 1, 7, and 9. Round 1, my hand was, I had 4 cards in my hand. I had Luffy, Zoro, Jet Pistol. They swung for 5. I'm like, that's fine, took the life. 1-drop blocker, that's fine. Swung, took it again. Another 1-drop blocker. They swung, Jet Pistol. They've already attacked with all their creatures. And then they swung for lethal, good old 5k lethal. So sometimes, it happens. but I was able to go on a pretty hot run. I didn't lose to either of the kid players by having less than 3 life. I just beat the crap out of them. And the reason why I think that matchup is so good is you do the good stuff that green is doing. You have the ways to tap to rest your opponent's creatures. You have ways to search your deck, and you have very, very good blockers, but you also have that red hint. So the Otama Jet Pistol makes their 7-drop, makes their 8-drop not really the king of the board. It's just like, all right, I'll kill that and move on. And a lot of times you just need Otama and they can't profitably block against you anymore. They're like, all right, 7-drop kid, and you're like, Otama, swing for 5. And they're like, I don't like that. And in the kid matchup, you just swing for 5, you chew through their hand, which is usually what you end up doing, then that's very good. That being said, attacking early is not really what you want to do. There's a lot of times on my turn 2 that I go 1-drop, 2-drop, pass, or I go Nico Robin, pass, and I just don't attack into them because I don't want them to have the cards in their hand. Because once you get down to it, it's a board control matchup. You want to kill their stuff, and they're going to have to protect their stuff because they don't have the efficient ways to cheat their idiots into play that Law does. And then I didn't play any Dophies, but I think that matchup is very good for Law. You just kind of ignore a lot of what they do and just kill them. And then the matchup that I played against Luffy, I think that the Luffy matchup is way better than even the Zoro matchup. There's just a lot of times where like, all right, I'm gonna go big, and you're like, fine, I have this 1-drop blocker. That's okay. A lot of people are like, well, what if they attack with their Shanks? Your deck is based around it's based around Law, and Law is just a great way to deal. Like, it's essentially a 2-drop in this deck. You're like, yeah, great, block your 9-drop. Can I go now? I've had so many Luffy matches where it's just like I truly can ignore everything you're doing as long as I stay at 1 life. I can ignore your board and just kill you. And I've even had matchups where I'm like, okay, Otama, Jet Pistol, kill your 9-drop, may I go? And that's kind of that at that point. They're like, wow, I was really hoping this was gonna do something, and it really didn't. I think that's all the matchups that I had. The match that I lost on round 7, it ended up being, hey, if my last life is a counter, then I win the game. If it's not, I die. So he swung for Exactsies, and my last life was a Tony Chopper or something, and so I died. But it was a very, 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 very close match, and that guy ended up making top 16, so I'm not mad about that matchup. Round 9, we both mulliganed, and his hand was just far superior to mine. Like, I know there's always something that you can do, there's always some way, but his hand was just straight gas, and I was pretty slow. I didn't really have the, I had a lot of Brooks, which are not really that great in the matchup, and I had a lot of Otamas, well, usually good, by themselves, very medium. Very, very medium. But those are the matchups that I played against, and how I feel this deck runs against the current meta before film and before TC promos come out.
Cool. So without further ado, going into everything that we've discussed so far as your matchups, the things that you did good, the things that you did bad, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the deck list and your short explanation as far as to why you played what you played and just the combos that some people may not see or things that you may favoritize in comparison to the control variant.
All right, so this is the list that I ran. Definitely a lot of stock stuff in here. You got your choppers, your biggies. Both of these, the 1-drops, super important. The 1-drop blocker is just really good, able to able to allow you to clear your own board and take advantage of that late in the game so that you do have access to your hand without having to essentially bin one of your own characters. So they like swing for 5 late game, like great block. Even if I could counter, I do want that one slot in my my character field open. There's definitely times you don't, where it's like, hey, I think they're gonna kill other stuff, but you don't want to just bin your stuff for no value. The Nami and the Bonnie, both integral to the Law deck. A lot of people are playing Momo, some people are playing 3 Nami. I saw one dude who was playing 3 of each. The balance of 3 tribes in this deck is super awkward, and I just thought that going with the Nami and the Bonnie would make it so that my while my hits are consistent, they also give you multiple options. So if you go with like a bunch of different Wano cards in there, sure, you might hit very, very often with Bonnie, but I like it when Bonnie gives me options. Like I can take either a killer or a law or like what have you, stuff like that. It gives you options. The Otama, again, rounding out the one drop suite here. Cards just obscene. Cards absolutely nuts in this deck. Allows you to attack over a lot of things that you really shouldn't be able to, but making something 2k weaker is just so good. And a lot of people are like, well, then you played it and it's kind of dead on your board. Not with Law. Not with Law. I love picking up an Otama, playing a character Law, and then going on with my life. So these 1-drops are the ones that I played. The 2-drops that I played in the deck, I played 2 Killer. I touched on it a little bit earlier. The 2 Killer really allows you to aggress in ways where you can leave a couple things in play. The fact that in play tapped or rested, the fact that it draws you a card allows you to, a lot of times, just have another character to play. So I think that blocking with the Killer is just really good. That being said, I didn't want 4 because 2 is a lot of Dawn for early game, especially the 3rd you put under there. That's just a lot of Dawn. The other ones, Nekomamushi, cards messed up. Tap stuff in the mirror, kill stuff in the mirror. It makes it so that the Nico Robin play, which is very powerful against this deck, isn't just like borderline unbeatable. Like you have your Nekomamushi, your Jet Pistol, and your Izos for that. And then I am playing the Brooks over the, I think people are playing Usopp's a little bit. I think that the Brooks are really important in the Kaido matchup. Brook and Zoro are how you win the game. Like Brook allows you to attack in for 7. It allows you to attack in for 5 with your 3Ks here. It allows you to just be a lot more aggressive. The Nico Robin card's just jacked. Card's just messed up. It does a lot of things that you want it to do, and also the fact that it has counter really makes it playable. I know some people in the mono red decks are playing the Beppo, which does the same thing, which is cool. It's just Nico Robin. You can find it with Nami, and that's very, very important. The Izo, just more copies of Nekomamushi. That is also a 2K. The Killer, very, very, very good in this deck. This 3-drop Killer. I had one game where I played 2 2-drops on my first turn. My opponent went, all right, attack your face. And I'm like, great. Reveal, trigger, put Killer in play. I don't have any targets, so that's fine. Next turn, 2 2-drops, activate, play a Law, kill your Nico Robin, because I was able to play an Otama with it's just very, very good. Extremely powerful tempo stuff. Really, really what you want to do. That, and also sometimes you just kill stuff with this. Like really good against the mono red decks because they attack with their Zoros all the time, and you're like, great, killer. kill your thing, establish a 3K, be able to activate my leader ability. The 5 rush characters I'm playing, I really wish I could play 0, but it's very, like, you gotta be able to beat the the purple deck somehow. So I'm playing 5. The Zoro, really good with Law, really powerful card, and Luffy just ends the game. Like, truly, really a really good way to just stone cold end the game. I am playing 2 Basil Hawkins. This is the card choice that I went with to tech into green, because there's a lot of times where when you're playing the green matchup, if they don't have Okiku, Basil Hawkins. Just play it on turn 3. It's definitely good enough. It's not what they want to see, because you can just kill a thing with Basil Hawkins, don't attack a second time, and still have that big attacker for next turn. The Law, you got to play 4 Law. Some people say play 3 the card. No, you're wrong. I don't want to be rude, but you are wrong. You're playing 4 Law. I decided to play 3 Jet Pistol. For the longest time, I was playing 4, but then I cut 1 so that I could play a second copy of Nico Robin. 4 Jet Pistol, really good in the green matchup. Okay in the mirror, definitely good in the blue matchup. But I think 3 is definitely enough. If you need to see it, you can see it. It gets hit by both Nami and Bonnie. Just really a good card. Also, obviously, everybody knows works well with Otama. Just does, is a removal spell. Removal is good. But what I felt kind of overperformed, this was a correct choice. Obviously, I played only green and red in whatever combination all day, but there were games where I killed at least 5 creatures with Basil Hawkins, and it was just crazy. So I'm big on Basil Hawkins. Maybe going into the film meta, there's going to be a little bit less of the decks that I really want to see Basil in. So I might cut it down to 1, but I was very happy with the Basil Hawkins number that I played during this event. But yeah, boom. That's what it's all about, the shiny paper. I love it. Yeah, it's a good looking card. I need to get 3 more now, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, no problem. Always good to try and, let people know what's up. And also this deck, the reason I want to play this deck, you get to make like a million game actions every turn. It's crazy. It's so fun. But yeah, no, appreciate you talking with me. I love card games, love talking about them. So, this is definitely a plus for me.